As we do this, I really want to invite the expert panel for the day. The expert panel is going to sit and join us. So here we have Håkan Kingstedt, the chairman of Sweden-India Business Council, who you met earlier in the day. We have Aakriti Samaiyar, who is going to be the youth representative. But Aakriti is not just a youth representative. She also has a background from KTH Energy Engineering and from UC Berkeley Environmental Economics. And we have Pranav, Kosuri, who will be representing the entrepreneurship aspect as a CEO and co-founder for Brandie, and also the co-founder for Flic. And you're also the board member of Sweden-India Business Council. And we have Verena, Adamheit, senior business developer from Swedish Energy Agency. And Verena, you bring on, of course, the eyesight of the energy agency with that background, but you also are here to learn more about India. And I think it's really good to come with that eyesight into this discussion. And now, the expert panel of the day are really the voice of the audience. So all that we have heard, they will reflect and give us commentary or come up with their ideas and suggestions. So I'll leave it over to you, Håkan.
Thank you very much, Sanyu.
Okay.
First of all, I think we talk about a vibrant India. I think we have a vibrant day today. I'm so impressed about the speakers, the subjects in the morning, and what we are supposed to comment now on top of this. Thinking about the Ignite, the matchmaking with so many numbers of startups from India to Sweden. We talk about the value chain. We talk about the circular economy. I mean, it's real. We have been talking about this for years. I remember for more than 10 years ago, we spoke circular economy. Now it's here. And now we need to make the transfer. We talk about the need of AI. We'll hear more about it later on, but the need of AI to make the transformation happen is extremely important. We talk also about the shift of energy. What I'm missing a little bit about, one of the keys are really the energy storage. If you're supposed to use new energy system to get a balance into the system, so it's not any longer used when it's produced. We need something in between. I'd like to see more about that part of it. I think also it's impressive to see all the large companies working on this. Extremely nice and good results, very committed. They have systems in place. And it's important to connect the small startups, so to say. What I would also like to see, that is the regulators. When all the new ideas is coming up, nicely developed, do we have the legal system in place to make the implementation? Is it okay to implement in villages in India and communes in Sweden, or do they have a veto right to say no? That's what is bubbling in my mind. Over to you.
Thank you, Håkan. I have to say that it's been an absolute pleasure to be a part of this panel. It's been incredibly encouraging as somebody, who's at the start of their career going into sustainability. It's really wonderful to see so many different initiatives, whether it's Ignite, whether it's Ecocentia, really connecting both the developed world as well as the developing world. And that's something that I know when I speak for a lot of my classmates, whether it's at KTH, it's something that we really want to see moving forward. Personally, I would love to get to know a little bit more about how the youth can be more involved in this transition. These days I see a lot of job postings, for example, people who are going into sustainability, but even then we see that we need experience for 3 to 5 years before we can actually go into it. So I'm curious, now that we have such a wonderful network, whether it's here in India or Sweden, how we can properly transition the youth, how we can actually harness our passion, our energy, to make sure that we have a sustainable transition, whether it's into life sciences, whether it's into decarbonization. So these would be some of my thoughts moving forward. How do we tangibly harness the youth of 250 million people in India, as well as the ecosystem that we have here in Sweden, how we can move forward with that with tangible actions. Over to you, Pranav.
Thank you. I think that was a great reflection. I also, like coming from a startup perspective, I would say it's lovely to hear about all of these initiatives. I like the Ignite initiative, working with corporates or big corporates and startups. What I'm very, I guess, like what you're saying, Håkan, like the proof is in the pudding. What is happening now? We can see that all of these initiatives are here, and everyone is talking about it. We saw some examples in the previous panels of 2 startups that are doing or walking the path. I think seeing more of them and making those stories heroes is something that also should be talked about or discussed. How can we lift that to the next level, so we also kind of break the bubble of companies that have a connection to India and then they work with India, or have a connection to Sweden and they work with Sweden. We saw Eric mentioning in the previous panel that his co-founder was Indian, and that's why they kind of happen to work with India. How do we, show the 2 markets to the both of the ecosystems, like the potential of the 2 markets to, outside the bubble of people that are aware about these ecosystems? I think that's an important piece of the puzzle, like bringing that to light. So it's not only, all of these initiatives and no one is actually, taking part of them. I think that's an important, or that's a reflection that I had.
Yes, thank you very much. Everyone likes Ignite, and so do I. I found it very impressive to hear about this matchmaking, because out of my experience, this is the hardest bit. I mean, we have the political will, we have industry interest, we have structures and processes in place, but how to find the perfect match. So I think this is an excellent way to do it, and I'm very happy to learn more about it. But I want also to comment on you, Håkan. You wanted to see more storage. I fully agree with you. But on the other hand, I was very happy to see a food tech startup here, because I am deeply convinced that we really need to broaden the horizon as we think sustainability. Like, not only focus on the classical branches like smart grids or renewables or even storage, but there's so much more contributing or having an impact on sustainability, such as food tech. So I'd like to even broaden the horizon further to get a grip to it.
What do you think then about the value chain? We talk about global value chains. We are connected with the top giants in that. India is connecting to the global value chain, not producing for India, but for top quality for the whole world. And we move from the global value chain to circular value chain. How do you see that?
Yes, it was phrased excellently of Daria this morning, I guess, because this is really key to the whole system, I guess, so you can't stress it enough.
Any thoughts?
Yes, of course. I'm actually quite interested in this aspect, because especially with the onset of the corona pandemic, we've really seen how the global supply chain is connected and how quickly that can collapse when something like a pandemic hits. And I would hope that in the future we don't have to wait for something as drastic as a pandemic in order to make our supply chains a little bit more circular. So moving forward, like we've already seen a couple of discussions this morning about how to sort of make sure that we move towards a more circular cycle rather than a value chain. And I'm incredibly excited about the new call to industrial innovation, where they're really going to be focusing on this. I saw an article about something the other day that said something along the lines of, the scariest thing about this Halloween is the global supply chain and its collapse. And I think that's something that's very relevant. So more power to more circular economies, and again, more tangible ways that we can go about it.
It was also mentioned about the need of a center of excellence to develop that more. How do you see it from the agency part? What more could you do from what you're doing today?
Yes, I think that is one of the key strengths, both in Sweden and apparently even in India. It was very interesting to hear because this is the breeding ground of innovation and collaboration. So I think this is an asset that we really have to work with.
What more would we need to do?
More matchmakings, coming back to Ignite to close the circle, because you can't even match, you don't need to match only companies, but even ecosystems to have a connected innovation ecosystem at the end.
Good, thank you very much. And back to you, Sanju.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that was really great too. And you will be back during the day at different points after the sessions.